Are you 100% undoubtedly running for re-election?
1,000%.
Why?
We got to finish the job.
So what changed? What made Joe Biden finally realise that his cognitive decline is a serious issue? Did he come to that conclusion himself? Was it his power-hungry wife Jill or troubled son Hunter? Or was it a handful of Democrats who, after years of protecting him and lying to the American people, decided it was time to push him out?
But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did so? And I thought it'd be a real distraction.
There you go. But even though the Democrats have now been able to select who is running for president instead of the voters, they'll tell you that democracy is under threat.
Have you heard of turtle traders? They were a group of 14 novice traders who were trained by Wall Street legend Richard Dennis. According to a turtle trader, 2 classes of turtles.
I knew that. I knew I had to do something. And that's why I decided to run, because democracy is literally at stake.
And what does Joe Biden have to say now? Will he be out supporting Kamala Harris?
Yes, he will. I talk to her frequently. And by the way, I've known her running mate is a great guy. As we say, if we grew up in the same neighborhood, we'd have been friends. He's my kind of guy. He's real. He's smart. I've known him for several decades. I think it's a hell of a team.
He talks to her frequently. Seeing as she is the vice president, you would hope so. And as for his comments about Tim Walz, we would have been friends if we were in the same neighbourhood. Sounds pretty scripted. And I didn't actually hear what makes him suitable for the job. Now, finally, the big question, how can we trust Joe Biden to keep running the country for the next 5 months with the cost of living through the roof, an immigration problem that is out of control, and with 2 wars raging in the world? Joe Biden's answer to this is to sit back and watch.
To those who have expressed skepticism about how much you'll be on the trail or about the rest of your term, raise questions about your health, what do you say to them?
All I can say is watch, that's all.
Watch. Oh, and if it turns out, with the benefit of hindsight, that he probably should have stepped down, then who cares? It is not funny anymore, and the mainstream media is choosing to ignore this so they can focus on propping up Kamala Harris.
You could just sense the power in the hall, and it was the power of joy, the power of laughter, the power of hope for the future.
I don't know where it came from and where it's been 4 weeks ago even, but we saw leadership last night.
I've seen this in the Democratic Party since 2008 when Barack Obama was a candidate.
The excitement was at a level that has just been, quite frankly, basically since President Obama was running for re-election.
It goes back to Obama levels of excitement.
But as time goes on and Kamala Harris straight up refuses to give interviews, slowly but surely, people are catching on that her campaign is running on vibes and emotion with barely any substance.
Kamala Harris's campaign seems premised on this latter intuition-based approach. Ever since she became the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party, Harris has run a remarkably focused and disciplined campaign, one that seems deliberately light on substance and high on feelings. You don't see the dozens of policy papers that were a hallmark of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. Harris has not yet given extensive interviews or done press conferences, which would force her to detail her positions on specific issues.
And we have an election to win.
Instead, she has introduced herself to the American people in entirely human terms, presenting herself as a dynamic, warm, funny, and optimistic person.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
It's heavy on vibes, and so far, it seems to be working.
New polling shows Kamala Harris has pulled ahead in critical swing states, including Pennsylvania. Sky News Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen is on the ground.
A little rain won't stop these Lehigh Valley locals enjoying a movie at their local drive-in on a Thursday night. The major parties hope they're just as intrepid when it comes to casting their ballots this November.
It would be wonderful to have a female president, for our first female president. I think she's very talented, very capable. So I'm excited about the ticket and her choice of vice president.
Of course, not everyone is so certain 3 months out.
What do you think of Donald Trump? He's okay, but I'm not a big fan. My wife's not a big fan of him either.
Pennsylvania voters are some of the most important in the country this year. The state boasts 19 electoral college votes. Pennsylvania delivered Biden the presidency in 2020, but could easily swing back to Trump this time around. One demographic that could turn the state is the Jewish vote. There are around 300,000 voting-age Jewish people in Pennsylvania. Biden only won by just over 80,000 votes.
How are you voting this election?
For Donald Trump,
Why Donald Trump?
because I think he's the man to do the job. I just wish he would keep his mouth shut a little more.
Many live here in the Democrat stronghold of Philadelphia. At this Jewish deli, the Democrats' approach to Israel and the Middle East is front of mind.
There's too many people that do not understand what the war in Israel is all about. The fact that anti-Semitism is on the campuses, I feel, I am totally perplexed why they don't understand the Holocaust and they don't understand the persecution.
The worst thing the United States has done since World War II, as far as I'm concerned, is the Iran deal. What a dumb deal. And they won't admit it, the Democrats.
But for some in the Jewish community, their concerns lie closer to home.
I think up until recently, I was as much voting against somebody than I was really like, yeah, this is going to be a great future, where I have so much more optimism.
Further north in Northampton County, the suburban to rural enclave boasts a rare electoral record. People here voted for Barack Obama in 2012, Donald Trump in 2016, and back to Joe Biden in 2020. It's called a boomerang county and could provide important insight into where this election is heading. Do you always vote Democrat?
Actually, for 2020, I went and I re-registered as an independent. I've been a Democrat since I was 21, so I'm a liberal Democrat, and I'm worried about our country, and she is, and that gives me a lot of hope, and I hope it brings a lot of hope to everybody else. I like her running mate, and the other side, okay.
One of the main issues polling has shown voters here care about is cost of living. That's what we find in the small town of Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Travis Ressler helps out with his family's market on the main street. He says cost of living is a common conversation around town.
Personally, I'm not a Donald Trump fan, but I am registered as a Republican. But with that being said, I hope whoever wins the election, most likely it is going to be Trump. I'm fully believe he's going to win the election. But I just hope that everything that he does is for the betterment of everybody in the country.
Kamala Harris's ascent to the top of the Democrat ticket has undoubtedly helped boost enthusiasm among Democrat voters. But whether she can weather another 3 months on the campaign trail and still have those key voters here in Pennsylvania excited to cast their ballot for the Democrats remains to be seen. So Kamala's got your vote?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to try for her, so.
Few states will matter as much as Pennsylvania this election, and most voters here are still distracted with the last weeks of summer. But as autumn sets in, the Rust Belt voters know they're some of the most powerful voices in America, and they'll be watching this election closely.
The female for president, I love that idea. I just agree more with what Trump is bringing to the table than what she is.
Annalise Nielsen, Sky News in Pennsylvania.
Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Van Sickle Kia, makes driving a new car affordable. Right now, lease a brand new Kia Forte for just $199 a month. You get 41 miles per gallon highway and tons of technology. Or buy a brand new 2025 Kia Seltos for under $26,000. And best of all, every new Kia at Van Sickle comes with Kia's 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. The best in the business, making driving affordable at Van Sickle Kia.
the best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. I'm Peter Van Sickle. I guarantee it.
And we'll have plenty more Lefties Losing It content with my next guest. And let's start with the Republican vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, doing the media's job for them and approaching Air Force Two to demand Kamala Harris answer some questions for a change. Meanwhile, his Democrat counterpart, Tim Walz, repeated a disgusting and verifiable lie that the left has been pushing about J.D. Vance. They claim that he wrote in his book, Hillbilly Elegy, that he had sex with a couch. Of course, that is untrue, but it hasn't stopped Governor Walz from referencing that lie.
And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
See what I did there, he asks, proud of himself. My gosh. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Why? Why would he push such an ugly and trashy and obvious lie? And if a Republican did that, I would say the media would come down on them like a ton of bricks, but there's been really not much response to that.
None. Just part of media cover, as we will see and continue to see in this election. I don't think he's going to repeat it because it didn't land. That would be my guess. I don't think we're going to hear that one again from him. But it goes to the bigger point of their strategy. So in any campaign, it's always about likability of the candidates and capability of the candidates. And you kind of have to hit them at both. And we're just seeing it's really, really clear in this campaign, both Kamala Harris and now Tim Walz are just going for the likability thing, and they're trying to frame Trump and Vance as weird or whatever other words they're going to come up with, and they're not going after the record or the policy prescriptions because that's where they're weak. And I think the challenge for the other side is going to be to counter that likability attack vector, but also go back to focusing on the record because there's a lot of fodder there. On the first one, I think that first clip he played from J.D. Vance was what the kids call a boss move, where he went there and forced, criticize the media and criticize Kamala rolled into one in that 30-second clip that has gone viral.
It shocks me that she still hasn't done an interview. She's not going to cop hard questions. She can select the interviewer. She knows they're going to just be asking her about what a amazing candidate she is and how she's going to unite the country and, talk about being the first Black woman, Indian woman to be running for president. So she knows the questions are going to be pretty soft.
And still won't do it.
And she still won't do it. She will not leave the prepared statements, the auto cue.
Yeah, it really is interesting. And I guess it goes to that maybe it's on some level, it is a lack of confidence, even with the very trusty media that, as you say, will give her softball questions. She just doesn't want to take any risk of piercing the veil of that likability that she's riding high on now for all those reasons. And since she came into this position with only 100 days left, or now 90 days left to go, there is a strategy that says she'll run out the clock and avoid it altogether, which is very frustrating.
You can have a honeymoon that lasts that long, and I think she's counting on that. Now, this is far more serious for the Democrats than lies about couches. The issue of stolen valor has been raised in relation to Tim Walz. Questions are swirling around his military record. The Minnesota National Guard is disputing his military biography, saying he did not hold the rank of Command Sergeant Major at the time of his retirement, which came very conveniently, Kosha, just before he was due to be deployed to Iraq. This is an issue people care about. If you are willing to lie or over-egg something like this, it says something about your character.
It's huge. This actually is potentially a massive landmine. In the U.S., probably the most revered institution is the military, and especially if you served in an active combat zone, which for the last 20 to 30 years there have been. And it's just something that you don't sort of embellishing, taking more credit that you were in harm's way in the line of fire, literally, is something it violates every code in there. And it's just, again, such a revered institution that people, even who didn't serve in the military, don't take kindly to it. He did serve in the National Guard for 24 years. So that's good. That is an honorable record. He should stick with that. But there is video footage coming out of where he's used words that claim that he was actually in Afghanistan and the line of fire, and that will not age well. However, it is also important to remember for the other side that he is at the bottom of the ticket. So there is, I think, a limitation to how much that'll damage the whole thing. And they, again, need to just not get distracted with this too much and keep their eyes trained on top of the ticket and all of Kamala's many vulnerabilities.
Well, this is an issue that is going to come up in the debates, I think, the vice presidential debates in particular, because we know J.D. Vance did serve. He was boots on the ground in the battlefield, and yet former Speaker Nancy Pelosi questioned whether he'd been in combat.
J.D. Vance has criticized him as never having been in combat. And,
Has he?
Has he? Well,
has J.D. Vance been in combat?
Well, I think he was over in Iraq, I think.
Oh, goodness me. I can't believe some of the things she said during this interview. It's always about projection with the left. And Nancy also has revealed that Joe Biden is not speaking with her since she encouraged him to step down from the 2024 race.
Have you spoken to President Biden since he dropped out?
No, I have not.
Do you hope to?
Yes, I hope to.
Yeah.
We're all busy.
Is everything okay with your relationship?
You'd have to ask him, but I hope so.
I think we know why she made those absurd calls for him to be added to Mount Rushmore, like Biden up there with Jefferson and Washington. She played a not insignificant part in this quiet coup that has installed Kamala Harris.
Yes, she was quite icy there. I think I call it the coup sandwich, where up until the point where it was obvious that something had to be done because he was cratering, Biden was cratering with the Democrat base. She always was playing nice and was being supportive of him outwardly whenever asked. There are many clips about that. Then the moment came, and you're right, she is reportedly one of the key figures in the mutiny that the party staged against him. And then she's closing the sandwich with Mount Rushmore and very effusive things. And I think that's all part of the strategy. She knows exactly what she's doing. On the first piece, I mean, she stumped Andrea Mitchell there about the service with J.D. Vance. What she's doing and others are doing is they're trying to segregate between paratroopers, soldiers, artillerymen who actually are carrying weapons and fighting opposition versus those who are in other roles like doctors, lawyers, communication specialists, which is what J.D. Vance was. So she's trying to draw that distinction. But the point is he was in the battlefield and any bomb could be dropped on any base at any time for people, regardless of what role you're in. Versus Tim
he
Walz
was in the
has not
war
been.
zone.
He was in the war zone.
He was in peril along with his fellow soldiers. He was a Marine, wasn't he? He was, and again, you have to be pretty elite to be among the ranks of the Marines. Now, the Democrats have been pushing this line, particularly about J.D. Vance, but also Republicans in general, calling them weird. This weird line has really taken hold. And the Trump campaign has used that very word to attack Harris's vice presidential pick, Tim Walz. Let's have a look at the ad.
What could be weirder than signing a bill into law that requires schools to stock tampons in boys' bathrooms? Or weirder than signing legislation allowing minors to receive sex change operations? Try electing the man who signed those bills, Vice President of the United States. Enter Chief Weirdo Tim Walz. As governor of Minnesota, Walz supported legislation that endangers minors, hurts women, and puts radical ideology ahead of common sense. Now Kamala wants Walz to enforce those laws on a national scale.
Got lost in the whirlpool of tasks? Your Mac may be on the brink of burnout as well. Let's check in Macation with the menu app in Clean.
Tim Walz, too weird, too radical.
Too weird, too radical, Chief Weirdo. They've taken that word and run with it. And I know you said Walz is Veep, so it's really Kamala's got to be their focus of the Republicans' campaign. But the fact that she has picked this radically left running mate, given her record is very left-leaning, the most left-leaning senator, I think it was judged in 2019, that says something. And some of the things he has backed, like putting sanitary products in boys' bathrooms in schools, fourth graders, giving access to really quite irreversible treatments for very young people who think they're in the wrong body, also giving driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. I mean, that has got to hurt the Democrats coming up into the election.
The two places where the VP pick does matter is one is exactly what you said. It's a reflection of the thinking and judgment of the top of the ticket. So it is sort of a mirror back to Kamala, who made that decision for various reasons, reportedly. And then the cardinal rule they say with the VP is whoever you pick, the upside historically doesn't show that they necessarily help carry a particular state or a geography, but the downside does. So it has to be someone who does no harm to your ticket.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, to your point, where his positions on record, because he's a sitting governor and he was a sitting congressman before that, are very much to the left of the center of gravity of the country. It really is. And so that is going to come out, all that stuff that they're playing, and the weird word, I guess, they're just...
Vice President Kamala Harris looks to be a shoo-in for the Democratic nomination, following Joe Biden's dramatic exit from the race. But commentators are saying Kamala Harris is no better than Joe Biden when her litany of fumbles, mumbles, and gaffes are examined. Sky News All-Stars Rita Panahi, Danica DiGiorgio, and Megyn Kelly take a look at Kamala's cringiest moments. Kamala Harris may well be an election away from being the leader of the free world. But instead of knuckling down and getting serious, the Veep is as cringy as ever.
It is so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we do, everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe.
Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi blasted Kamala Harris for her incompetence and idiocy.
Yes, that's Kamala Harris, the inept, radically left and wildly unpopular vice president who is now being presented as the Democrats' great hope. The woman who has not won a single presidential primary. A Californian from San Francisco with a voting record in the Senate that is radically left. She's disliked by her own, let alone the average American. And pollsters, including Matt Towery, are already laying bare how unpopular Kamala is in the crucial swing states. The polling shows she's even less popular than Biden among independents in those swing states. Indeed, across America, Kamala has proven to be less popular than the least popular president of our time. She has consistently lied to the American people about Biden's cognitive decline, and millions of Americans gave their primary vote to Biden. Their votes mean nothing tonight.
She also goes on to slam the Democrats for threatening democracy, despite labeling Donald Trump as a threat to democracy.
And millions of Americans gave their primary vote to Biden. Their votes mean nothing tonight. The Democrats have shown again and again, though they bleat endlessly about threats to democracy, they care little about democracy. They have weaponized the justice system to try to imprison their chief political rival. And now they're going to ignore the votes of 14 million Americans who voted for Biden in the Democratic primary. And they'll install Kamala as the candidate.
Sky News contributor Megyn Kelly agrees, saying Kamala Harris is a fool and she won't win the popular vote.
I'm sorry to be ad hominem, but she's a fool. She's not a smart person. If you listen to her, as I have now for so many years, you glean that she is faking it. She thinks she's Oprah with her attempts at profundity that never land. We will be unburdened by what has been. It's her only line. She says it all the time. Her other line is about Venn diagrams, just equally stupid. And her attempt to take complex topics and reduce them down into small, digestible bits is the most offensive to me, because that happens to be what I do for a living, what you, Paul, do for a living. And it does actually take some skill and some research and some knowledge. You have to learn it forward and backward before you can explain it in a very easy to understand way to your audience. She doesn't get it. It doesn't require speaking to people like they're four, but that's her level of communication. So that person's not going to be the first female president. It's not going to happen. I would bet everything I have on it. The only way it's happening is the Democrat machine. And let's face it, some potential shenanigans at the voter box. You know, last time around, you don't have to believe that they switched votes like with Dominion or Smartmatic. to believe that there was cheating. Just look what they did in Pennsylvania, where they changed the rules and you can do all this mail-in balloting for a month beforehand, which we had never had before. Who's receiving those votes, who's accepting those votes. Those votes can be received even if they weren't postmarked by election day. That's one way we know they manipulated the last election, and they're really good at it. So that's her best shot, but the overwhelming odds are against her.
And in the lead up to the Democratic convention, Sky News All-Star Danica DiGiorgio has exposed Kamala Harris's cringiest moments.
Now it's time for lefties losing it, starting with the bumbling, bizarre, broken record, Kamala Harris, and her strange and quite frankly abnormal obsession with repeating the same lines over and over and over and over.
This is going to be a humbling thing I'm about to share with you. If someone is 18 years old today, they were born in 2005. I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z. It will be a humbling moment for some of us to realize that anyone who is 18 now was born in 2005. I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z. So think about this. Okay, first of all, it's going to be humbling for many of us when you remember or realize that someone who is 18 now was born in 2005. I have to tell you, I love Gen Z. Yes, I know, but I love Gen Z. And it will be a humbling fact to many of us when we realize that anyone who is 18 today, they were born in 2005.
My humble apologies to Gen Z and anyone born in 2005. And even more apologies to Americans who could soon be burdened by what might be.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been. 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 What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be, unburdened by who we have been. Even the same arm every time. Can someone please unburden me from the shackles of that video?
And Rita Panahi added to the cringe fest.
And it's the wildly unpopular and incompetent Kamala Harris who is right now seen as their best chance. Yes, this woman.
The Biden administration finally agreed to ban Peter Daszak and EcoHealth Alliance from receiving any more funding for gain-of-function research. You'll recall EcoHealth Alliance and Peter Daszak were the ones that were funding the research in Wuhan, China. This is a great victory. But this is only the beginning. It's time to take things a step further and prosecute Dr. Fauci for lying to Congress. He still insists he didn't fund gain-of-function research. We now know it's a lie. It's time that he be prosecuted.
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But just limited to what we have seen.
She highlighted Kamala's ineptitude when it comes to foreign policy.
And don't ever have Kamala try to explain international conflicts.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
That's wrong. Yes, it is. And by the way, she was speaking to adults there. It wasn't some discussion with fourth graders.
And she also mocked the VP's pronoun obsession.
At least she didn't tell them her, pronouns.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
And Rita Panahi then went on to expose Kamala Harris's dire debating skills, which have hopefully improved if she's going to go head-to-head with Donald Trump.
And if you're wondering why she's never won a presidential primary, well, Here's a reminder.
Vice President have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional. We got a
And yes,
constitution.
we can, because he reminds me of that guy in The Wizard of Oz. You know, when you pull back the curtain, it's a really small dude.
Okay.
And who can forget this golden moment when Tulsi Gabbard demolished Kamala and her rotten record?
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
And Danica DiGiorgio mocked Kamala Harris's obsession with time travel.
Now to Kamala's part-time obsession with time travel.
To see the moment in time in which we exist. During Women's History Month, we celebrate and we honor the women who made history, the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
You know, this time travel thing has really got me into a spin.
Sky News All-Star Alex Stein controversially believes even people on the left don't want a female president.
You know, Rita, I want to be like Vivek and I want to be honest. Even people on the left, I feel, are a little misogynistic. And I know that sounds crazy, but I do believe people even on the left are not going to want a woman president. I don't think people mind having a woman vice president, but I think, you know, a lot of gay men are. What is that crazy to say that? A lot of people are not going to want a female president. It's like one of the reasons why.
Crazy.
Well, but Hillary Clinton is. That's the reason why.
Crazy.
Well, what? That I think that people don't want a female president?
So unlikable.
Yeah,
I think if they put up a female who was actually accomplished and likable and electable, she would have won. But they put up Hillary and now they've got Kamala. It's like they're determined to make the female presidential candidates fail.
Well, they have to kind of cheat, you know. She's going to be the president by default because of all of Joe Biden's work. Listen, you're right. If a woman was capable, she could be president.
Pakistan's elected a woman. You know, they elected a woman decades ago in the UK as leader. I'm sure Americans are ready, but for the right woman. They're not just going to vote for anybody.
But despite Kamala's cringe antics, one poll has bucked the trend and is showing promising signs for the VP. But Republican strategist John Jordan says this is just an outlier.
Well, Kamala Harris, she's only been campaigning for 24 hours now, at least officially, for president. And already a Reuters Ipsos poll has her in front of Donald Trump. Joining us live now is the Republican strategist John Jordan. John, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So with RFK Jr.'s votes, that gap potentially extends. Now, long way to go. And the Dems are getting a sugar hit at the moment, but are you worried about it?
No, let's look at there's 5 other polls that are also taken in the last week, and the other 5 all showed Trump with a 2 to 6 point advantage. This is the only one in the last week which shows an advantage for Kamala Harris. And Reuters Ipsos has historically not been very accurate predictively. So it's getting a lot of attention in the media. But if you look at realclearpolitics.com, which is a compendium of all of polls, you'll see that this is an outlier.
She has broken a fundraising record.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result.
These headlines are amazing. Absolutely amazing.
the bad news that the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, appears to be overindulging again. How else does one explain this performance where she told CBS that Joe Biden is so good he deserves a place at Mount Rushmore, along the likes of Lincoln, Washington, and Jefferson.
Such a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president of the United States. Want to know what comes next.
That he belongs up there on Mount Rushmore, Lincoln and Joe Biden.
But you got Teddy Roosevelt up there, and he's wonderful. I don't say take him down, but you can add Biden.
Mount Rushmore. She said there Biden was at the top of his game and among the most consequential presidents. Then why did she play a key part in the plot to remove him as the Democrats' nominee, even after he secured more than 14 million primary votes? Talk about threats to democracy. We will get back to the Democrats shortly, but first let's check in with one of our favourite trans activists explaining the science of dudes giving birth. Apparently, it's not a matter of if, but when.
Trans women getting pregnant is not as far off as you'd think. In the past 10 years, 50 babies have been born from a uterus transplant. So far, these implants have only been attempted on cis women, but there's nothing that says it couldn't work on a trans woman. After all, my hormone levels are pretty similar to a cisgender woman, so why not? The main thing in the way is that the science is new, so there aren't enough surgeons out there to do the testing. So it's less about if we can do it and more about when we can do it. Imagine a trans woman using her own DNA along with her partner's egg to create life. Wouldn't that be incredible?
Incredible. I have some other words I would have used. And we're also told by other trans activists that men identifying as women can have periods.
Once a month, trans women will experience what is known as a period. Some astute viewers might notice that most trans women don't have a uterus, let alone an ovaries or anything along the lines of that. But that doesn't change the fact that they are experiencing a period.
Look, I'm not sure why anyone wants to pretend to have a menstrual cycle when they clearly don't, but here's a reality check. If you don't have ovaries, you ain't getting periods. Now, back to the Democrats and their propaganda arm, the overwhelming majority of the media, who continue with their race obsessions. Here's former Democrat operative and now an ABC host, George Stephanopoulos, yelling at Byron Donalds. Here's another lefty losing it.
There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue...
Sir, 1 second. So you just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer.
Oh dear, there's about another 4 minutes of George losing it, asking about race and then getting upset when Byron Donalds answers his questions. White men yelling at black folk is, vintage Democrats, isn't it? And CNN have joined in. They sent out a reporter in a Michael Jordan T-shirt to a barber shop. And when the black workers there and the customers didn't give them the answers they wanted, well, a white dude on camera called them low information voters.
This is FTMO, and it's a trading firm that funds traders. If you're 18 or older,
it's Kamala going to make...
Hi, Norma. This shit's goddamn hysterically funny. Yeah. Hey, Alex. We're watching headlines from Skywatch News right now. Yeah, links in the comments. Oh, shit. Amazing.
Make you a little more likely or less likely to vote Democrat?
Hold on, Ray. It's Kamala Black, yes or no?
I'm going to allow her to speak on that. But to me, no.
Oh. It's Kamala Black, yes or no?
I share that same view.
Wow. It's Kamala Black, yes or no?
I heard she's half black and half Asian.
When I played that audio on my SiriusXM radio program on Thursday, many callers who self-identified as African American were quick to tell me that those men were the exception, not the rule. Some described them as low information voters, no different than you'd find among whites.
Amazing stuff there from CNN. And the same DEI enthusiasts who insisted that Joe Biden pick a black female VP in 2020 are now outraged that Kamala Harris would be seen as a DEI pick.
Are you committed to naming a black woman as your vice presidential running mate? What makes this so ugly is that it reveals a truth that is clearly broadly held within Republican circles. That white men, by definition, when they have a job, earned it and deserve it. And anybody but a white man is a DEI hire.
You know what? There are a growing number of people from all backgrounds, including plenty of black men, who know that DEI is not only racist, it's actually not good for them. It's often affluent white liberal women who are the biggest beneficiaries, like this white woman for Kamala.
Is here to help gentle parent us through this election.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am like shaking to just be among such incredible company. We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in as white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season.
That's Ariel Foda. She's not new to activism. Let's check in on some of her earlier work. And I'm going to warn you, this may be one of the most annoying people in the world.
They just want to put a little warning sticker on your stove so that you know that it actually means methane gas. Yeah, the one making the world warmer. Yes, that is really happening. Can you catch a bubble, please? California has used stickers to warn people about chemicals for a long, long time, and the stickers are nothing to be afraid of. I promise. They just want people to know about the health impacts of burning gas so that we can be safer.
Oh, imagine being lectured to by that lady on the ills of the world. We should send that sort of footage down to Gitmo. Should probably be more effective than waterboarding.
That's why they're saying that there should be more information so people can learn about that. Nobody is coming to take your stove. Do you want to sign this paper with me? Okay, let's do it. Learning new things is great. I'm glad you're not scared anymore.
Now to another painfully annoying lefty who brags about ruining a family gathering.
So I just got kicked out of a gender reveal party. Everybody's clapping, it's a boy. And I just happen to say, well, let's give it 10 years and see if it sticks. Grandma clutches her pearl. I'm leaving. The receipt's in the bag. I got them a pride onesie from Target.
And while we're on gender reveal parties, it's never too late to throw them. Here is a mum and dad throwing one for their son, who now identifies as their daughter. And have a look at just how happy the dad seems to be about all this.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, $118 for car insurance. That's how much I was paying. Okay, I picked up.
Alex Stein has been sparring with the young folk, some of them painfully woke and naive. Let's have a look.
People who aren't citizens can't vote.
Yes, they can.
No, they
In
can't.
Arizona,
Republicans made it illegal in 1995.
Okay, no,
You're right. You're right.
You don't think an illegal? Let me just say this: you don't think an illegal immigrant has ever voted in the federal election?
No, because it's not.
Oh my God!
No, actually, I disagree with that.
You don't think? No. This guy, the delegate guy, you're so smart. You don't think an illegal immigrant has ever voted in the presidential federal election?
Probably not.
Oh my God.
Let's have a look at the real Kamala. We know she's woke, but just how woke is she?
You know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
Yeah. Wow, that is pretty woke. In an interview with a Glamour magazine, she explained what caused her to be so woke.
There are some real silver linings about what this moment in time has
done to maybe cause a lot of us to be woke. And I love it. I love it. But folks are woke, and I love it. I love it.
She loves it. You know what I love is what a chameleon Kamala is. I mean, she was raised in California and Canada, but she can go all southern and urban when in front of a mainly black crowd.
I said to the congressman, I didn't know he could preach like that. Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets, and let me tell you, as they say, they not like us. Do I see people testifying? Can I get a witness?
Oh, that was good. So good that it inspired this spoof. Yes, Kamala is Tropic Thunder.
So I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub. So I am not playing around.
Back before the war broke out, I was a saucier in San Antonio. I bet I could call up some of them greens. Yeah, noodle some crawfish out the patio. I made some crab apples for dessert now, yeah? Hey, yeah. Ha!
Oh, look, Kamala is very good, but she has some ways to go to reach Hillary levels of inauthentic.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
When it comes to Kamala, we have to overlook the style and look for that substance. She's an intellectual. We've seen her explain community banks, school buses, diplomacy, space travel, and here she explains cloud storage.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right? It's no longer in a physical place.
Now, we know the two biggest issues in America are inflation and the border crisis. Yes, cost of living pressures and record numbers of illegal immigrants coming in via that southern border are top of mind for voters in the coming presidential election. So let's hear now from the Democrat nominee on how she will handle those critical issues. Here she's asked about inflation.
What else are you going to do to fix this problem with inflation?
All right, thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously, very seriously.
That's the woman they're presenting as an inspired, strong leader who can lead us all in the free world. And it gets considerably worse when it comes to illegal immigration. She's on the record supporting free healthcare for illegal immigrants, not even wanting the term illegal to be used. And she's even passionately defended those who pay human traffickers to bring them across the border. Like most neo-Marxists, she's at her core pro-open borders. She even sought to compare ICE, that's Immigration and Custom Enforcement, to the Ku Klux Klan. I wish I was kidding.
Well, the Klan was what we would call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we call them domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and
It was
force?
based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between
I'm talking about perception.
officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a
people's rights. I
perception?
see no.
Are you aware that there's a
that
perception?
puts ICE in the same category as the KKK. Is that what you're asking me?
Hey there, real quick, you guys. This is Steve Fisher, and I'm here to tell you about a great event from the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. We're hosting a 100% free self-defense workshop, and we're calling it.
Oh, she wasn't done yet. That footage is from 2018, but Kamala was keen to drive the point home that ICE is akin to the KKK. Why? Because they enforce the law.
Are you aware of a perception that the way that the discretion
I see no parallel.
I'm not finished.
I see none.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Are you aware that there's a perception that ICE is administering its power in a way that is causing fear and intimidation, particularly among immigrants and specifically among immigrants coming from Mexico and Central America?
We're about to delve into the twisted world of Kamala's Veep pick. But first, remember when Ricky Gervais told the Hollywood elite to not preach about politics? No one cares about their warped views. But sadly, they didn't listen. Here is Hollywood A-lister, Kamala fanboy, and lefty losing it, Ben Stiller.
And she's also a historic candidate. It's going to be the first woman president. And that's incredibly exciting. And, she's Indian, she's Black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was Black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was Black.
A Jewish comic blindly following a party with an anti-Semitic problem that runs so deep that Kamala didn't pick the...
So Ben Stiller is suffering from cultural identity crisis and wishes to be a Black man. Andy. Amazing. Meanwhile, in the state of Ohio, they're deciding that you need a license for operating a bicycle. And the license is good for the lifetime of the bicycle. And upon sale of the bicycle, you must transfer the fucking license for $3. $3 for the license and $1 for the transaction and transfer fee. What's next? I have a license for carbon gases that I produce out of my ass or my mouth. We could really start making a difference in regards to global warming. A fucking walking fee. Yeah, so we're listening to this segment that just came out from Skywatch News yesterday, 3 days ago. I don't know, this commentator, she does such a great job. You don't really understand how fucked America is until you start watching external news sources like Skywatch. You won't get it straight from your own news sources. No. You got to watch foreign news. You got to watch foreign news to learn about your own country. you happen to see those photos I dropped yesterday on my wall? I'm so proud of them, man. Nobody's had a goddamn response for us yet. I'm rather disappointed. I said, man, this is something else. But no one said anything. Didn't even fucking thumb it. So you can be more than one thing. You can be black, you can be Irish and Jewish at the same time, according to Ben Stiller. And you can suffer from an identity crisis because you're more than one thing. Oh, fuck. Let's keep going. This is too goddamn funny. 2 more minutes, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, pretty much universally acknowledged best candidate, Josh Shapiro, who could have helped us secure the crucial state of Pennsylvania, where he is governor with a 60% approval rating. But he's Jewish, and that is a problem for the Democrats, one that even CNN acknowledged.
Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro is being discussed as one of Harris's potential running mates. He also endorsed her tonight. In your view, what are the pros and cons for putting him on the ticket?
Well, he's certainly under consideration. I know that from key Harris allies. He's a first-term governor. He's Jewish. There could be some risks in putting him on the ticket.
And right he was. It's clear that the squad, the Hamas wing of the party, is calling the shots. And did you notice Walz was not even on that list that they had up there? He wasn't one of the likely candidates. Even CNN thought he was too much of a socialist simpleton to be considered. Talking about simpletons, let's get back to Ben Stiller embarrassing himself.
I just want to let you know I'm going to match your $150,000 donation.
Shalom, friend. I am Dr. Eli Lizurkin Eisenberg, head of school at Israel Bible Center. Today, I am thrilled to...
Everybody's got to get out and vote and donate. Get out there and vote and donate and like take advantage. This is such an important time right now, and this wave of energy that's happening, we got to keep going with it. So please do everything you can.
Yes, Ben Stiller has gone full Kamala. Never go full Kamala. Why didn't you just listen to Ricky Gervais? His advice was sage.
Don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg.
He told them, now to Kamala Harris, the media spin is in...
You remember that speech? Most of them spent less time in the classroom than Greta Thunberg. So why should we be worried about their opinions? Fucking funny shit.
Full swing from the Democrats' propaganda arm, but we keep unearthing the real Kamala.
And as a woman, there's a balance to be struck between being tough and being
She's so likable, isn't she? Talking about likable, let's take a look at Kamala's running mate, the man she has chosen to be the next vice president. And her campaign released this totally real and authentic video of that historic moment.
Yeah, this is a historic moment. Right now is a historic moment. It's a historic moment to be a proud high school dropout and a non-voter smoker in a very divided world of smokers versus non-smokers. And the non-smoker from the non-smoking home will feel rather square about my disposition. And here I sit, square to you, shoulder to shoulder, square. And I'm squaring off with you. And the squares have been squared into a corner, into a box, subjugated. They're out of here. Here. Boy, these people are really losing it. They're really losing it. But they never even had it in the first place. It's in the lost and found, and they don't advertise it very well. No one's talking about it. Owing the drain. Owing. This shit's goddamn funny. So let's check out what this old guy's got to say. It's going to be good. This has got to be funny, honey.
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
You understand our country. You have dedicated yourself to our country.
He understands the country, the socialist governor of Minnesota, the man who put tampons in boys' restrooms in schools, who wants to allow teens and tweens to access medical transitioning of their gender, who back the BLM riots even as they destroyed Minneapolis and beyond, and who changed Minnesota's flag to look a lot like the Somali flag, but they swear that's just a coincidence. Minnesota is home to the largest Somali population in the US, another coincidence, obviously. And this is also the man who has pledged to provide massive ladders so illegal immigrants can climb any wall that Trump may build.
he talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory. That's not how you stop this.
And he's the mayor who compares the dangerous, failed doctrine of socialism to being neighborly.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Here he is celebrating giving illegal immigrants driver's licenses.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
And behind every male lefty losing it is an even loopier woman losing it. And here is Mrs. Gwen Waltz saying that criminals should be given as many chances as they need.
Having a chance every day. Like, how many chances do you get? My answer to that is as many chances as you need, which doesn't really please those law and order people.
Yes, those awful law and order people who want to put criminals in jail while your husband back those who want to defund the police.
Do you need $300, $500, or even $1,000 fast?
So the same media that for close to 4 years called Kamala Harris ineffective, unpopular, and a major liability for the Biden White House is now
What? What?